The following program is brought to you by PodcastOne Sportsnet.
This episode of the Steve Austin Show is sponsored in part by DDP Yoga. Working hundreds of matches over the years, it ain't no surprise that my body has taken its share of bumps and bruises. My buddy Diamond Dallas Page knows all about the wear and tear the ring takes on your body because he'd been there and did that himself. And his DDP Yoga fitness system was specifically designed to burn fat, reduce pain, and heal from injuries. Dallas is so positive that you'll absolutely love the DDPY program and using the DDPY app that he's doing something he ain't never done before. He's going to give you 7 days free to try it out. Yeah, that's a week to try the program, explore the app, and own your life, and it's completely free. Listen, DDP Yoga can work for all ages, weights, and fitness levels. It's a kick-ass cardio workout that will dramatically increase your flexibility and strengthen your core like never before, all with minimal joint impact. Just for listeners of the Steve Austin Show, you can save 20% off an annual membership for the DDP Yoga Now app off any DVD pack. Just go to ddpyoga.com/Austin to get started and check it out. Dallas will be at WrestleCon in New Orleans, April 6th to the 8th for photos and signings. Come meet Dallas and over 200 other wrestling superstars at the biggest wrestling convention in the country. For those of you across the pond, DDP is headed back to the UK and is putting on another DDPY Inspiration Meets Perspiration workshop for one night only. Thursday, April 19th at Frome Sport and Fitness in Somerset, England. Come on over to this incredible 3-hour workshop where you'll get to meet DDP, get a kick-ass workout, and hear DDP's secrets to staying motivated. Get your workshop tickets at ddpyogaworkshops.com. Okay, make the workshop? Don't worry. You can still catch DDP in person at the Wales Comic-Con April 21st and April 22nd. Details and tickets are at walescomiccon.com.
The following program is a PodcastOne.com production.
From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Now, here's Steve Austin.
All right, everybody, welcome to Steve Austin Show. I'm coming to you from the mean streets of Los Angeles, California today. Sitting here 317 Gimmick Street in my Austin 316 office chair. Kick back. The sky is absolutely gorgeous outside. The weather, the temperature, the breeze is absolutely phenomenal. It is a beautiful day here in Marina Del Rey, California, as I'm sitting here talking to you and looking out my window. And I'll be damned if that dog next door didn't stop barking for a little bit. That guy across the alley stopped using his belt sander for just a second. And all the helicopters that was buzzing by a while ago kind of just seemed to stop. So right now I just have this little bit of calm, peace, and serenity going over here in 317 Gimmick Street, and it's almost deafening because the silence is so loud. Usually it is such an ongoing clustermuck over here because I'm right in the middle. All this damn concrete, motorcycles, cars, choppers, ambulances, dogs barking, and all that other stuff. It just chaps my ass. But anyway, I digress. I got a damn good show for you today. I tell you what, man, you guys know if you listen to me talk on this podcast, I'm real picky about what I watch on TV. It's hard for me to find anything that I like. But one of the things that I did like was that old rock and roll show, that heavy metal show called That Metal Show, hosted by Eddie Trunk, Jim Florentine, and my guest today, Don Jamieson. I was milling around the other day and I got a text message from a booking agent. And I guess the same person that books Jim Florentine helps Don Jamieson out with his bookings. And I got a text message that said, hey, Don's coming out. He'd like to promote his new CD, Don Jamieson, A Communication Breakdown, which is available on iTunes. Is the easiest way to download it with everybody here being in the smartphone technology days. I just bought it myself on iTunes. I don't have a CD player anymore, but I'm looking forward to listening to this thing when I buy it for $9.99. And I was watching some of Don's stuff on YouTube last night. Man, that dude's funny as hell. Big background with metal music. And, man, we're going to sit here and we're going to talk about metal. We're going to talk about stand-up. We're going to talk a little bit about wrestling, some of the similarities that go into both businesses. and just his take on things. And that was a breath of fresh air to have a guy like him come in here and shoot the breeze and talk a little bit about sports and all kinds of. Yeah, but we basically talk about everything under the sun. So, Don, anytime you're in town, please come back and stop by again for another conversation at 317 Gimmick Street. And once again, the album is Don Jamieson, Communication Breakdown. And I think the best place to download this thing is on iTunes for $9.99. Check that out. And on Twitter, you can find Don. His Twitter handle is Real Don Jamieson, Jamieson, on Twitter, Real Don Jamieson. So anyway, that's my conversation for today. But before we get into Don, there's a damn kid running down the sidewalk with a dog running behind him. I'm sure that's the same damn dog that's been yapping his fool head off, making my damn hair turn gray. Well, if I had hair, it would be gray because of that little bastard. Hey, man, I'm fixing to get on an airplane and head down to New Orleans, Louisiana. I guess I'm heading out of here from 316 Gimmick Street. I'm going to head down there on Friday. I sign autographs on Saturday and Sunday, and I'll be signing for a pretty good while. These are probably the only 2 appearances I'm going to be making this year. If you hadn't got a ticket, hopefully there's some still left. I'd love to see you over there. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. From what I hear, everything I've gathered at that WrestleCon, there's going to be about 200 guys and girls over there. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody like I've been telling you about. And I'm looking forward to meeting the people that, were Stone Cold Steve Austin fans. I tell you what, man, I had a good time in the business, and I very rarely make any personal appearances. And I'm making these 2, April 7th and 8th at WrestleMania. I'm looking forward to seeing the pay-per-view. I'm wondering how everything is going to shake out. Tonight, well, it'll be tomorrow as you listen to this podcast, but I'm looking forward to watching this week's Monday Night Raw and this week's SmackDown to see how these go-home shows do and, point the direction as we head into the biggest show of the year. They always pull out all the stops at WrestleMania, so I'm wondering, and I'm really curious about that main event with Brock and Roman, about how that's going to go down and what fashion that's going to go down. And I'm thinking, is it going to go down like everybody's thinking it is, or is that a spot for a hellacious swerve and then to pick it up next time on the pay-per-view after that? So I'm just kind of speaking very, broad strokes, not saying anything. I'm just wondering how that's going to go down, and hopefully those 2 guys knock it out of the park and rip the roof off that Superdome. Or is it the Silver Dome? It's the Superdome. But anyway, I'm going to watch both the shows and see what direction everybody's going, and I wish everybody luck. And everybody going down to New Orleans, people are coming from all over the world. I wish everybody safe travels when you get down there. Stay out of harm's way and have a good time. New Orleans. That's a big reason. New Orleans is one of the big reasons I'm going down to this pay-per-view, just because I love that city so much. I got a chance to spend a lot of time down there in my wrestling days, all over the great state of Louisiana. I love the Cajun food. I love everything about that area. And when we were filming The Expendables, I got a chance to stay down there for about 3 months solid. And that city is just, it really endears you to it. And it's a great place. And if WrestleMania was anywhere else, I don't know that I'd be going. But New Orleans is a big part of the reason I'm going, and I'm looking forward to meeting everybody down there. But anyway, I got some business to take care of before I get in my conversation with Don Jamieson. And here's some words from our sponsor: Backbreaker, Deathlock, Brainbuster, Exploder, Goozle, Tombstone, Skullcracker, Vertebreaker, Spear, Gore, Stunner. Now, whether you're a construction worker, warehouse worker, or even a pro wrestler, if you hear certain words on the job site, it can make work painful and uncomfortable, usually for your opponent. So at least get work gear that is comfortable. Timberland Pro, work shirts, pants, and boots, head to toe. Timberland Pro, not uncomfortable.
Hey everyone, I'm Wade Keller, and it's WrestleMania season. So be sure to subscribe to the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Podcast here at PodcastOne. I produce 2 new shows each week. Every Thursday on our flagship show, I'm joined by a co-host from the wrestling journalism field to talk about the hot topics in WWE and elsewhere. Every Friday, I'm joined by a guest who has worked in the wrestling business, including ex-WWE creative team members like Kevin Eck, talking about Drew McIntyre.
Drew was a young guy, and did it go to his head, and did he walk around like he was the chosen one? He did. And I was frank with him. And I said, Drew, just so you know, this is how they view you.
And Podcast One's own Christian Harloff, talking about his days working for WWE and Vince McMahon specifically.
As far as the perception of him, I mean, he's the king. He walks in and it's just, you can feel it. I mean, if the Force was real, you would feel the Force powering into the room when he enters.
And pro wrestlers, including NWA World Heavyweight Champion Nick Aldis, also known as Magnus, talking about the challenges facing Ronda Rousey as she transitions from MMA to WWE.
I'm sure if you asked Ronda, she'd probably say that this moment is the result of hundreds of people's work, meticulous preparation and planning and timing and everything, and now suddenly it's like, go. And that can be very overwhelming.
Just search Wade Keller on Apple Podcasts or on the Podcast One app or anywhere else you listen to podcasts.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
All right, I'm sitting at Rolling Sound at 317 Gimmick Street. I got Don Jamieson sitting across the table with me. His buddy Izzy's over here. I was going to untangle the microphone for Izzy, but I got 30 foot worth of cords over here just tangled up like a goddamn, I don't know what you call this.
You've been tangled up in the ropes before. Come
this
on.
This is absolutely ludicrous. I was asking you, do y'all have a studio that looks like this? This is fancy. This is high dollar.
That's that's like the Radio Shack had a going out of business sale. And here's a bunch of wires.
My personal assistant quit on me yesterday. Can you believe that?
And your dog already ate my socks. He wants me to play with the tennis ball with him.
Jesus Christ. It's good to see you. Man, I've been a fan of That Metal Show. Seems like everybody's a big fan of That Metal Show.
Yeah.
And
then why are we canceled?
Well, dude, that's right. Dude, I had a show on CMT, Broken Skull Challenge. I don't say canceled. It didn't get renewed.
Yeah.
But what happened to That Metal Show? Because Jim Florentine, one of your good friends, was on the show a couple of months ago. I was like, dude, what's up? That was such a damn good show, and there's so much rock and roll out there and so many iconic people and upcoming people. Why would that show not get renewed?
Well, here's the thing, man. They took off the whole network. So VH1 Classic is totally gone. It turned into MTV Classic. So, I am proud. Like we know how to get a show canceled, right? The show just doesn't go away. We take down the whole network with us. Yeah. So three idiots from New Jersey. We had 14 seasons, man. It was so much fun to do. But it's tough getting back on now because like all the TV executives are 30-year-old hipsters. So if we wanted to do that EDM show, we'd probably be back on tomorrow. But none of us know anything about that music. We're all metalheads. We're all middle-aged dudes from Jersey,
How long have you been doing the stand-up stuff?
So over 20 years now, man.
And you were a communications major in college.
Yeah.
Dumb question. I've asked this before to people who had the same degree you do, but I've been hitting the head with so many steel chairs. It's like asking a new question for me. What do you do when you get a degree? And what do they teach you as far as communications? Does that mean you could be like a radio DJ or television personality? What?
You know what? It was just a generic kind of major where I was like, I could probably pretty much do any. I knew I was going to be into entertainment somehow. Really the only thing you learn in college is how to chug beer, which you're an expert at.
Right.
So, other than that, it was just learning how to live on your own and do your own thing. And I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I was on the radio at the college, but I always loved stand-ups and I always loved hard rock and metal, And so when I first played in bands in high school, but then I just realized, man, it's just like, it's the Real Housewives. No matter how much you love your bandmates, right? It's always this drama. This guy his girlfriend doesn't want him in the band. This guy can't tour. This guy doesn't show up for rehearsal. And you got to split the money 5 ways. Yeah. I was just like, comic is way better, man. Don't have to lug any equipment. I don't have to worry about anybody not showing up. It's just me. I don't have any, I just put my dick jokes in my pocket and I go.
What instrument did you play or did you sing?
Guitar. I played guitar.
Lead guitar, rhythm guitar?
Rhythm guitar, yeah. I never really, peaked, as a guitar player. Because like I said, man, after I got through high school and I was playing with bands and stuff, we used to play parties and stuff, but I was like, I don't want to struggle for the next, 30 years and maybe make it, maybe not. Comedy's different. You don't have to be a household name. You could go out and make a living at it,
Yeah. But Izzy over here's got a Kiss shirt on. Kiss was my favorite band growing up as a kid.
Yeah.
And I know they were very influential on your career. So from a music standpoint, playing rhythm guitar, did you have any influences that inspired you as far as your guitar playing, or just...
Well, that's the thing, man. It's like my first two records were Kiss Destroyer and George Carlin, Occupation Fool. So I always loved those two worlds together, and eventually, I've been able to mesh them now over the years. But yeah, as far as guitar players, yeah, of course, Ace Frehley, you can sing every one of his solos, they might not be the most technical solos, he couldn't play in Dream Theater, but that guy couldn't play Ace Frehley's leads either. Because Ace has that swagger, man, that, like we were talking about off the mic. It's like, all that like angst and that craziness of, especially back in the 70s where Gene and Paul were the teetotalers and Ace and Peter were kind of the bad boys. But, that all goes into your hands, man, when you play, like that cockiness and that swagger. So even if you could play an Ace lead, you'll never play it like him.
So where'd you go to college at?
I went to Rutgers in New Jersey. And, and I used for my new album, I used the picture of me from my college graduation where I have a sweet mullet.
Dude, you're a good-looking kid back in the day.
What do you mean back in the day? Look at me. I'm a handsome man.
Well, still you're a handsome man, but I want to go that direction. Look, outstanding human being there, but
business in the front, party in the back. Come on, that look.
When you decide to grow, we call this in the wrestling business, those are pork chops.
Yeah.
What do you call them in Jersey? Pork chops, or just some hair on the side of your face?
Just not caring. I just, it's just like how like eventually you stumble across a look. And then people latch on to it. That's what happened. Yeah. I just didn't shave really good one day, and people go, "Oh yeah, I like the pork chops, man. You should keep those." So, just always had them.
If you were cutting your teeth way back in the day on Carlin, that guy's one of the smartest guys in the world. And to me, and hell, he's one of those guys that can go into so much minutia and details about everything, and especially I don't like to talk politics, but it'd be like when I listen to George Carlin, I think that guy would have been a great president of the United States of America.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just breaks everything down into common sense.
Because look, when you're a comic, and especially in this day and age, man, where everybody's so sensitive about everything you say, Carlin was able to talk about politics, religion, any of the taboo topics he was able to talk about on stage and make people laugh. So you're right, man. Imagine he got up there at the podium, he gets inaugurated president, and he could talk common sense into people because he could make them laugh.
We were talking before we started rolling microphones about things you can't say, and let's don't go into big details on that. But God dang, man, Izzy does a podcast. I do a couple of podcasts a couple times a week. And sometimes, dude, I'm just worried about. I used to have an Unleashed show, but we don't have an Unleashed show, and that was where I could say all the words that you want to say, but just due to trying to streamline the show and sell advertising, and just kind of make it so it's more family friendly, no F-bomb stuff like that. But it's like, man, even on that show, I mean, there are certain words that you can't say. They're going to get your ass in trouble. And it just seems to me like in 2017, going into 2018 now, and even before that, dude, back in the day, and you're from Jersey, I'm from South Texas. I grew up here hearing all kinds of shit. And think about being in the Northeast, whether Jersey, New York, that whole area. People kind of tell you how it is, like it is. Kelly's attacking Izzy. I got a lawsuit on my head. She just bit out his right eye. Point I'm trying to make is if Callie would leave it. I used to have another lab that used to mess up my podcast all the time. Callie has taken her place. Dude, do you ever get leery about, no, my point is, people just seem these days to just be looking to get offended or get their feelings hurt by anything and everything. It just seems like we've become, not we, everybody else has become so soft-skinned. To me, it's almost frightening.
It is. And like, but the thing is, like, I got to be able to talk on stage. I got to be able to say stuff that's going to make people a little uncomfortable, but that's the thing. It's like something you say 2 weeks ago, now you can't say today. You know, it's like every couple of weeks you got to watch the news and see what you're allowed to say because you don't want to get hashtagged or out there, you know. But at the same time, the people who've been coming to see me for 20 years expect a certain edginess to me. You know, if they show up and I'm talking about kittens and puppies and how cute they are, and they're going to walk out on me.
It's like I was talking to Bill Burr, and it's like, because, man, that dude gets away with a lot.
Hell yeah.
And he goes, along those notes, he goes, Steve, when someone buys a ticket, you know, they're buying in, they're signing on. They know there's going to be some edgy stuff there. But, you know, I'm not just talking about just within the show. I understand once you buy a ticket and you buy into, you know, the Don Jamieson experience or the Bill Burr experience, but, man, just as far as being on a stick or trying to do an interview, you know, live on TV that's going to go everywhere, just, man, I'm really careful about what I say these days because everybody's looking at the feelings hurt. It just bothers me.
Yeah, I mean, you got to learn a whole new vocabulary every couple of weeks. So, like, what can I say? You can't say you can't take an illegal left turn now. You got to take an undocumented left turn, and you can't have a disabled car on the side of the road. It's got to be a differently challenged car on the side of the road. Like, what do I say anymore? I don't know. But you got to be, especially when you're talking on stage every night. You got to figure a way to be creative, and maybe it's just a matter of, you know, you can keep your edginess, but you just got to word things a little differently.
Were you a big Mitch Hedberg fan? Because I thought that guy was just – a lot of people didn't get him because I think his cadence and I think he was so smart and dry, and I love the way he delivered jokes. A lot of people don't get him or didn't get him. I know he's dead from a heroin overdose, but were you a Hedberg fan?
Huge Hedberg fan. I'll give you a little piece of trivia. So before I started doing comedy, I worked at MTV. And I used to work on the stand-up shows on there. And I was the first guy to ever book Mitch Hedberg on television. He was living in his car. And he's just driving up and down the West Coast from, you know, going like from Seattle all the way down to San Diego and back and forth and just like trying to, you know, work in all the clubs and stuff. And I got a tape somehow across, you know, my desk. And I was like, man, this guy is amazing. And that was 20 years, you know, that was like 25 years ago. And he was great then. And, you know, but I didn't know what he was going to turn into, man. Like, to do one-liners for 45 minutes and you never get bored of it?
Yeah.
Like, only guy that did that I could think of is Rodney.
That's what I was watching because I was watching The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Yeah. Watched a lot of Dangerfield stuff when he was on there. Yeah. And everybody, when you read the comments, I mean, the dude just killing it with one-liners. Yeah. And then, you know, Stephen Wright was another interesting guy. Yeah. Pretty cerebral, very dry. Did you get into any of his stuff? Yeah,
he was amazing. I mean, I think we all have that album. What's the pony one? I Have a Pony, or the one that was real big for him back in the day. Yeah, he doesn't get out he still performs, but not as much.
I wish Richard Pryor was still around.
Oh, dude,
that guy to me during his and I love Dice too, especially when Dice before he kind of changed his style to kind of make it work for everybody, and then it blew up on him, and now he's kind of made the comeback. Mm-hmm. But when he first broke out, I mean, that guy was one of the most outrageous. It was phenomenal.
He's the reason I stepped foot on stage the first time. Yeah.
How was stepping on stage for the first time? Because I like to consider myself, a person with a sense of humor, or I can be funny, but I'm certainly not a stand-up comic and don't have any desire to do so. But what was that? Like you say, he made you want to get on stage. What was that first time on stage like? Just scared shitless or what?
Completely, man. Because the thing is, any material you have, like, if you have 5 minutes, which is probably really 3 minutes, and out of the 3 minutes, you might have a couple good jokes in the 3 minutes. So you don't have the material. You've never been on stage before. So you get up there, and the lights hit you in the face. And now you're like, oh my God, it's bright up here. Now any material you have is gone, right? And now do I take the mic out of the stand? Like, what kind of comic am I? Am I physical? What do I stand here? Like, and then everything's gone, like because you're in such a panic. And I did about 5 minutes, and I got like 4 mercy laughs.
Yeah.
And I got on stage, and it was like I just destroyed Madison Square Garden. Because that's all I wanted. I just wanted to try it, and that I even got 1 laugh. I was like, okay, that's all I need to get up and do it again, man. I'm sure it's the same with you with wrestling, man. It's that high, man, when you get the crowd going, and maybe in the early days they didn't go as hard as they did in the later years. But, man, it's such a good feeling, man, that performance high.
It's a good feeling because it's like, especially just like, what you just talked about, having 5 minutes, but then maybe really 3, and then, you might get a couple chuckles. Yeah. And so when you first go out there, hell, I'll never forget, I've been wrestling for 2 months, and I've been working on a freight dock, loading, unloading trucks, driving a forklift. And I was starting to work, Friday nights and Saturday nights at the Sportatorium in Dallas, Texas. And I, asked the new promoter who had just bought the territory, I said, hey, Jerry, when do you think I can start working full time? He goes, hell, Steve, I think you're ready now. So this is just like being a brand new green comic, and there was a brand new green wrestler with about 5 months of wrestling school, 1 day a week with 25 other people. So didn't get a whole lot of reps in. Man, I go down, and we're in some town right outside of Memphis, Tennessee, and I'm going to work with a guy in a mask and a hood. He's calling a match. I'm green as grass, and I got a hearing loss. We're actually talking out there in the ring. And Dutch Mantell, the booker, tells me, he goes, y'all go out there and give us about 8 minutes, and then he gave us a finish. And so I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, what am I going to do for 8 minutes? Yeah. And that sounds like an eternity. And then, later on, hell, it'll take you 8 minutes just to get in the ring.
Right.
And so it was a real, to me, there's so many parallels with being a stand-up comic and being in the wrestling business, and also, to a degree, the music business. And sometimes when you get out there, I know this happened to you a bunch of times, you get on a roll, you've been doing this for a long time, but you go out there and shit just ain't working. And it's like, all the highs and all the adrenaline. Tell me about going out there and just getting crickets.
Yeah, but you know what it is, man? It's like I could, in the early days, if someone would go, hey, I heard you're a comic. Could you do 15 minutes? If you had 5, you went, yeah, of course. So you'd make up the other 10 just by doing crowd work and using your personality, man. And that was good training ground, for later on. Is so if your material's not working, then you can at least adjust a little bit. You could see somebody in the front row and make fun of them for 5 minutes and then kind of fill the time and then maybe get back into your material. So there's tricks to the trade, just like with anything. But there's some comics who just go right by the script. And if the audience ain't responding, that's a long effing hour, man, because they have nowhere else to go. For me, I'm like, I have in my mind what I want to do when I get on stage, but I always hope it goes completely haywire.
Yeah.
Because I love that unpredictability of doing it. And I also love, that's why I love Dice, man, because Dice was less of a comic and more of a rock star.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I always loved that dynamic, rock and roll and comedy. And Dice was the perfect combination of both. He had the leather jacket, the attitude, the cigarette, but he was
a character to work with.
Yeah. And I ended up opening for him for 10 years, man.
That's pretty cool.
Going on the road with him, man. That was the fastest comedy education you could ever get. So you want to talk about going up in front of crowds and having to win people over? Go in front of a Dice crowd. If you don't get that first joke out in the first 3 seconds, someone's going to yell out, "You f***ing suck," and you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I learned real quick. I run to the mic every night.
So you're getting pretty busy as we spring into April. You're going to hit the road, right?
I'm always on, comics, we don't really do as much touring as much as we pretty much fly out every weekend or, whatever. We work local, New York, New Jersey area. But I also go on the road and open for bands, which is really fun too, man. That's a whole
How does that work? Because, man, we've had some people, like back when I was with WWF, we'd have actors come in and they come in. It's a different world for them. And all of a sudden you think, oh, man, these guys are world famous. But all of a sudden they're in front of a specific crowd. You probably got a lot of cred with those people. Not only are you a funny comic, but also through that metal show, you got street cred. Do you think that helps you out?
Well, yeah, because, doing comedy in front of a rock crowd, which was cool for a long time. Again, Dice, Sam Kinison, Bobcat Goldthwait. Those guys, to me, I always loved that. That was cool. They're opening for a band. I always thought that was the coolest thing. And then it wasn't cool forever. And then when we started doing that metal show, Dee Snider from Twisted Sister asked Jim and I, hey, could you come open a show for us? And we're like, wow, that'd be incredible. So we went and opened the Twisted Christmas show in New York, and Dee was dressed as Santa Claus, and he's like, oh, by the way, this is a family show, so no F-bombs or anything. We're like, Dee, we learned to curse on stage from you. Like, you can't.
You're gonna take away my whole gig.
Yeah, like if we go out there, we need all our bullets. This is still a rock crowd,
Yeah.
It's a totally different animal than when you do a comedy club where people are seated, they're having a reasonable number of drinks, they know that you're a comedian, but when you go out in front of a band, man, it's like everyone's been standing up, mostly they're pretty wasted. So it's the same logic, man. You got to just go out and attack right away. But I have so much material about bands and music and musicians and stuff. So I keep it kind of all in that world, so it's not too weird. I don't want to go out and start talking about relationships and stuff like that. Nobody wants to hear that. But I go out and talk about Motley Motley Crue and Ozzy and Judas Priest and Black Sabbath and AC/DC, and it works. So I love doing that, man. It's a real challenge. It's like, you really got to be in attack mode, man. You can't let people take a breath.
Dude, how long you been on the road now, and you still enjoy it?
Yeah, 20 plus years. Yeah.
You still dig it?
What else am I going to do, man?
Well, I know, but see, when I was in the wrestling business, I lived to be on the road. And then sometimes you're on the road so much, it's like, hey, man, I got to get to the house. But then you get to the house and you just put all your suitcase right there in front of the washer and dryer. Yeah. Just wash whatever's clean. Wash whatever's dirty, keep whatever's clean in there. Just throw the same shit back in there and get ready to get on the road. Yeah. And so it's like you're home, then after a day and a half being home, it's like, man, I got to get back on the road. But see, once I retired from the business, I got dropped on my head. I didn't want to leave the business, but I had to, so I was forced out, so I didn't leave on my own terms. Man, it took me 3 years to return to what I call being a civilian again. Yeah. So now, like going on the road, it's not something I enjoy. But if you're in the groove and it's what you're used to doing, it's the cycle and it's routine, and a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, that's why I'm married and have no kids, and I'm 51 years old. I mean,
how long have you been married?
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're not married?
I have no kids, nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, because of my lifestyle, people gets,
That might have been one of the smartest plays of all time, dude, because all of a sudden, man, you get married and then you have kids. That's a game changer.
Yeah, then I have to stay home.
Yeah.
And I'm not a stay-at-home guy.
In theory.
Yeah, but I definitely will. I'll go through what you went through, man. I'll have, road comedy PTSD, like, what do I do? I'm not leaving on Thursday again to go somewhere. I don't know what to do with myself. I got to find something else to put there.
What do you do when you're on the road, when you're not at the gig? Because like in the gig that I was in, the world that I was in, I mean, you're traveling with 20, 30 guys, a couple girls that are on the crew, the referees. I mean, man, it's like, wrestling came out of the carnivals, man. And so, we're just kind of like this family. It's very dysfunctional. And there's some real cool cats there, don't get me wrong, some of the greatest people I ever met. But so you're traveling around, and then, you talk about that adrenaline rush after the matches. Let's say we're on a high, everything's going good and we're having good matches. So you got that adrenaline spike, and then you go back to the hotel, and man, it's like for us, we're hitting the booze, the whiskey, and whatever. So you're basically out there. Are you by yourself? So are you a one-man posse? Or you got an entourage you bring on with you, trying to keep the overhead down?
I bring Izzy.
Okay.
No, I have no posse. That's what I said. That's what I loved about comedy to begin with. I like counting on me, and that's it.
Right.
But you're right, man. After you have a killer show, you have a killer match, man, you're so high from the performance, man. You can't go to the hotel and go to sleep. You're not going to be able to sleep for hours. So yeah, you usually hang out after the show, you party a little bit, whatever, and then, I sleep in. I do try to stay healthy on the road. Florentine's the same way. We usually hit a gym while we're in town just to try to keep some normalness to the schedule. And then, like I'm a big sports fan. So if there's a sports team in town, I try to catch a game maybe during the day or something, go to a hockey game or football or baseball or whatever. And, when you're single, you tend to, go out and hang after the show and, abuse yourself a little bit more.
Do you drink?
Yeah, I'm a beer drinker.
What kind of beer you drink?
Miller Lite. My whole album is about this. My whole album, Communication Breakdown, is about Miller Lite.
Talk about Communication Breakdown. And why is it about Miller Lite?
It's the whole through line of the album. Yeah. I talk about it so much. They actually Miller Lite got in touch with me. And they said, we don't sponsor artists, but we'd love to send you like a thank you for, talking about our beer on stage so much. So they sent me this huge box to my house with cases of beer and shirts and hats and all that kind of stuff. So, but because it all came out of when people always want to buy you drinks, you know, right? They see, we can see, there's Stone Cold. Let's, he won't chug some beers with him, right? So after comedy shows, people are like, hey, I'm going to the bar. Great show. What do you want? I go, you're buying? I'll take 6 Miller Lights. And I see how many times I can get them. Because people will go do it if you keep a straight face. They'll go, you really want 6 Miller Lights? I go, yeah. That's what I drink right after the show, 6 Miller Lights. Yeah. And so that's the through line to the whole album is about drinking 6 Miller Lights. So people come to my shows and they go right to the bar and they buy 6 Miller Lights for me and they'll bring them up onto stage or they'll be waiting for me on the bar after the stage. So it's became this whole crazy thing.
So it's a good way to save money by getting free beer.
I should talk about threesomes more.
Here, you got some threesome stories?
Well, I get a lot more of them if I talked about them on stage. Why am I talking about beer?
Hey, here's the thing. When someone brings you a beer, one of the big things from being in the business that I was in, man, you got some crazy-ass guys that are just, we call them ribs, jokes, practical jokes. And, man, if somebody's got a drink or someone sends me a beer, like I'll be somewhere and someone say, hey, so-and-so from the bar sent you this beer. And, you know, maybe the beer traveled 30 feet or 30 yards. And if it's in a mug or if it's in a bottle and the cap is off, it's like, well, I'll take the beer and I'll give them the old, you know, hey, man, thanks for the beer. But I'll just put that thing on my table because I'm real leery about someone spiking that damn beer. Are you the same way?
You don't believe me, dude. If it's 3 feet and I don't have my eye on it the whole time, I'm worried someone's going to Cosby me, man. You know,
right?
So yeah, that's why 6 Miller Lights are so good. You know, it's like you don't have to just buy the whole 6-pack and they don't have to open any of them. But yeah, you got to watch out, man. You really don't know like what's going on out there. Or the other move I'll do is, or me and Florentine will do is I'll be like, come on, I'm going to buy you guys drinks, and we'll go. Now we'll just take the cash. They go, well, I'm not going to give you money. I'm like, well, you were going to buy the beer with it anyway, so why don't you just give us the cash?
Jesus Christ. A new low.
Yeah.
We'll take the cash. How do you go about the writing process to write some new stuff? Is it always going? You try to turn it off, or is what?
Yeah, I mean, every comic has a different thing, man. For me, it's just like scraps of paper, man. I write everything out, you know, and then when I see the pile get kind of big, I just, you know, scoop up the whole thing and I go sit somewhere quietly and I just go through it and then just try to, you know, flesh everything out. But there's no rehearsal for comics. Like we rehearse on stage. So anytime you have a new joke, I mean, I can't talk into a hairbrush into the mirror. The mirror's not going to laugh, or, you know, I have to do it somewhere. So we got to do it literally in front of the crowd. So.
Yeah, but you got to work the beats out and just kind of go through some time.
That's where you work it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, you could do it in your house, but there's no one's spilling a drink or nobody's laughing in a weird spot that you didn't expect or you know what I mean? Like there's so many variables that go into it. And look, so after a bunch of years, you have enough material that you know kills, right? So you hide the new stuff in between. So if it doesn't get that big of a laugh, you know, you just kind of go, and then go into a bit that you know is going to kill again. So you sandwich that stuff in between. But it's tough, man. On my last record, man, I'd never been a storyteller. You know, I love the shotgun jokes, man, like a machine gun. But I took on more storytelling the last time because I had so many crazy, unique stories, and I'm not a good storyteller. Like, I like to just get to the end, and then, and the horse had no legs. Now, let me tell you how we got there. And then I got to explain the whole thing, right? But that was a good exercise in, like, the pacing of trying to tell a story, you know, and all that. And that was a really hard thing to do, but I'm glad I did it, man, because it definitely made me stronger as a comic. And I got to tell stories that were more unique to me, that, you know, nobody could steal. Like there's a bit on the new album about a drunken encounter I had with Kiefer Sutherland.
I was reading about that. Where
yada, 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 he gives me a hickey. So if you want to hear the rest of the story, you could buy the album. But I'm like, what other comic could tell that story on stage? And people would be like, that's Jamieson's bit. Yeah. I mean, how many comics has he given a hickey to? So, yeah. I was afraid to tell it on stage, but I'm like, well, wait a minute, it happened. You know, so, you know, if he has anything to say about it, he probably wouldn't remember that night anyway.
Where were you?
It was in New York City at a movie premiere party, and I made him buy me 6 Miller Lights.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Because I was asking him, because he's a rock guy, so I was asking him about playing guitar and about he has a record company and stuff. And then ask him anything about movies or 24 or anything. And he's like, man, you're the only guy who never, you know, asked me about my movies or anything. That's cool, man. I'm going to the bar. What do you want to drink? I'm looking at, and Eddie Trunk was with me at the time. I go, I'll take 6 Miller Lights. Oh, Jesus. And he's giggling like, oh, yeah, Kiefer Sutherland's going to buy you 6 Miller Lights. He goes to the bar. I swear to God, 5 minutes later, someone's tapping me on the shoulder. I turn around. There he is, handing me Miller Lights, one after the other, like some alcoholic relay race. He's drinking scotch out of a pint glass straight up. And, man, that night got dark.
We end up with a hickey.
Yeah. Jack Bauer gave me a hickey.
All right, let's take a quick pause for the calls and give big ups to True Car. Now, if you're looking to buy a car, you're probably familiar with terms like MSRP. You might even know what it stands for, but what does it actually mean? The same goes for invoice, list price, and dealer price. It's enough to confuse anybody. All you're really looking for is a price that actually means something. Introducing True Price from TrueCar. Now you can know exactly what you'll pay for the car you want, including fees and accessories, before you even get to the dealership. TrueCar dealers will show you the true price on cars like the one you want, all from the comfort of home. And how do you know if your true price is a great price? Because TrueCar shows you what other people paid for the same car you want. And your certified dealers know this, so they set their true price competitively so they can win your business. So when you're ready to buy a new or used car, visit TrueCar to enjoy a more confident car buying experience. Some features not available in all states. You're also going to need car insurance for that new vehicle. Go to geico.com, and in 15 minutes, you could be saving 15% or more on car insurance. That's right. Save hundreds of dollars on car insurance at geico.com. Extra money in your pocket? It may just be the most rewarding thing you do today.
Hello, guys. It's MMA fighter Chael Sonnen. Check out my podcast, You're Welcome, with Chael Sonnen every Wednesday and Friday right here at PodcastOne. We cover the latest in mixed martial arts and everything else going on in the world of sport. Listen free to You're Welcome with Chael Sonnen, exclusively available on Apple Podcasts, at PodcastOne.com, and on the Podcast One app. If you love the show, share it with a friend, and leave us a rating and review.
Before we get to the rest of my conversation with Don Jamieson, let me ask you, is your home an ADT home? Mine is, and yours should be too. Get ADT and help protect against break-ins, fire, and carbon monoxide. For a limited time, take advantage of ADT's lowest rates starting at just $28.99 a month from the most trusted name in home security. Plus, ADT is the first security company to help keep you safe at home and when you're on the go with their ADT Go app, which features a family locator, safe driving reports, and even includes an SOS button with 24/7 emergency response. The best part is that you get ADT Go with the purchase of any security system. Just go to ADT.com/podcast to take advantage of ADT's lowest rate. 36-month monitoring contract required. Early termination and installation fees apply. Excludes taxes and fees. Applies to traditional services only. Certain markets excluded, and licenses available at ADT.com.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
I got to ask you, man, being such a fan of that metal show, what was your prep rolling in that show due to the fact that you got a stand-up background, you're funny by nature, and then you're just this immense metalhead? So what was your prep? Was it just showing up and ad-libbing or doing your homework or just letting Eddie do his singing and you guys are just kind of kick in?
No, well, I mean, just living my life the way I've lived it, same as you, man. Let's start out listening to Kiss when I was 9, so, 35 years later, I have guys from Kiss on my TV show. It's like if I can't go out there and interview them for an hour after listening to them since I'm, in the single digits, I shouldn't be on the show, I mean, sometimes there was a band where you might not have known as much about, so, you flip through their bio or whatever, but it's really once you get out there, you just start talking to them, and you just see where it goes, man. I've been listening to the hard rock and metal my whole life, so if I can't go out and talk to Alice Cooper or the guys from Black Sabbath or Judas Priest, why am I there?
But every now and then you'll get a guy or person that's just not that talkative. And sometimes I'll be on a podcast and I'll have somebody a question and they'll go, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, help me out just a little bit. It's kind of like that old Groundlings thing or some type of improvisational thing, which I've never taken anything for, like yes and. So give me an answer, but then please expound upon it. And if you got a punchline or something in there where we can draw a little time out of it, it would be absolutely wonderful. Because I've seen a couple of cats that were like that on the show.
Yeah.
But there's 3 of you guys to carry them.
Well, that's the other thing. It's like, there's 2 other guys who have your back. But like my hero is Lemmy from Motorhead. That is actually where the idea to grow the sideburns out, on him they look cool. On me, it looks like I'm being ear banged by 2 chipmunks. So, but and if I could grow 2 giant moles on my face, I would do it. That's how much I love Lemmy.
Yeah.
But sometimes he was really tough to interview because, sometimes he just, he has that strong British accent. Sometimes he just mumbled, and sometimes he just gave you really short answers. So as much as I loved the guy, he was a tough interview sometimes. But, I always said, look, if he just sat there on the set and smoked the whole time, that would be the coolest thing ever. So I wasn't that worried, but you really, or even like Brian Johnson from AC/DC, man, guy's got tons of personality. He'll tell a 10-minute story for every question. I can't make out half the stuff the guy's saying.
Right.
Because he's got that really thick UK accent. And it's like, we almost put subtitles up on the show. We were watching the rough cut. I'm like, we might actually have to subtitle him.
Dude, that's the thing. We've gone to England so many times, and you go to different areas. Well, it's like you and I sound a little bit different. I'm from Texas, you're from Jersey, and you can go to different places and hear a little bit of changes in, dialect?
Yeah.
But when you go to England, first of all, straight out of London, you can pretty much understand. But when you go to some of these different areas, just like you just said, dude, I don't understand. And here's the thing. I think I sound pretty normal, but I guess I sound like some just super hick to them because sometimes they'll have a hard time understanding me. And I'm like, you can't understand what I'm saying. I really can't understand what you're saying. And I don't know why that is.
I'm only catching every third word of yours. So.
Oh, Jesus Christ. But what was the thing about Lemmy with Motorhead? Would they kind of be considered like I don't know, the first speed metal band or one of the originators? Because like out of all the metal acts or the people that, man, I love Pantera, Slayer, Megadeth, Metallica, all those bands. But my go-to stuff, my bread and butter was more the stuff that was, blues based or, something with a hook or a melody. And that was kind of, it would be in line with a lot of the hair metal bands and Tesla and Scorpions and stuff like that, 80s, 90s.
Yep.
But the thing about Lemmy, it was like everybody who was in the music business, or at least in metal, just thought Lemmy was an absolute god.
Yeah.
Why do you think he had such a crossover influence? Because I didn't realize how influential he was until later on. But it's like Lemmy, or Motorhead, and not every band sounds like Motorhead, but they're able to draw some inspiration or whatever from Lemmy himself.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, man. But first of all, he's the real deal.
Right.
What you saw is what you got. Yeah. He didn't put that costume on 5 minutes before he went on stage. He slept in those stage clothes. He lived in them. He rocked in them. He was a straight up guy. He was, obviously he was a really bright dude, but very self-educated. And he just never gave up. Like I told him, I go, I've lived my life by like your sayings and your lyrics because, don't let the bastards grind you down, like stuff like that. I always think about that when I do comedy. Like you have a bad set and you go back to the hotel room and you're mother effing the audience and everything. But then I just think about Lemmy, don't let him grind you down, man. He just always had a way. Every album would teach you life lessons. They were definitely considered like the song Overkill. That was considered like maybe one of the first speed metal or thrash songs.
Right.
Because at that time it was so fast. And look, when you have a band like Metallica, who's not only one of the biggest metal bands in the world, they're one of the just biggest bands, period, right? When they say Lemmy's God,
right,
then he's our Elvis.
Right.
Totally.
God, what it was like...
Elvis with moles.
Yeah, but it's like, God dang, lead guitar Pantera.
Diamond Darrell Page.
Yeah, no...
Diamond... I'm in wrestling head.
You're in wrestling mode. God dang, I'm drawing a blank. Lead guitarist for
Dimebag Darrell.
Dimebag Darrell. He was a big, Ace Frehley fan. He actually had the Ace Frehley tattoo on.
Yep.
And so it was like, it's funny because he was such a different dynamic player than what Ace Frehley was.
Yeah.
Going back to Motorhead, we were at a pay-per-view, and before you leave, or I'll send you a link to it, they played, because you're familiar with Triple H, right?
Yeah.
Well, they played one of his theme songs. And
The Game.
God dang, man. They showed up, and we were all there. Pay-per-views on a Sunday. The doors weren't open yet, and Motorhead went out there to do their sound check. And man, they just hit it. And like most of Motorhead's stuff, it's not bass heavy. It's more, it's just more mid-range and so speedy.
Well, he played the bass like a guitar.
I know he played the bass, but I'm just saying.
But he plays it like a guitar, so
right.
You're right. It's not like Geddy Lee playing bass.
Yes, but in the Triple H song, it's got the bass in it. And so, boy, they hit. And the way they had that sound in that arena, it was a big-ass arena. it was like, Jesus Christ, everybody stopped and just was like, God. If you weren't into Motorhead, if they were too fast for you, this song had that, that and that got that FU and had the balls and everything. And then that night, there on the pay-per-view, to this day, I still think it was one of the greatest entrances of all time. And all of a sudden, boom, lights on Motorhead, Lemmy, and he just says, hey, we're Motorhead. We're going to kick your ass. Yeah. And boy, they went into it, and it was like, holy shit. And they let Motorhead play for almost like 50, 60 seconds, which is like an eternity on an entrance. Sure. And then here comes Triple H. And then you can see, boy, right when Lemmy starts really getting to the groove of that song, and I don't know if he's just a little bit buzzed or whatever, but he's in the zone. And it was just so powerful. And they just had a complete command on that entire crowd. It was just unbelievable. It was one of my favorite entrances of all time, and Motorhead just totally destroyed that place.
Well, look, I mean, as much as I've been able to mix comedy with heavy music, rock and wrestling totally go together as well, man. I mean, it's really amazing. And that meant a lot to Motorhead to do that theme song, man. They really dug doing that. And, and there's now a lot of wrestlers are going out doing comedy, man. Mick Foley's been doing it for a long time.
But what Mick Foley says, I guess at first he maybe thought he was stand-up because he was trying to elicit some laughs from a crowd. But I think the last time I heard him talk about it, I think he realized that he was more of a storyteller. Yeah. And he's going to get laughs, but he's not, quote unquote, a stand-up comedy guy. And, Mick was one of my travel partners, man. We've slummed around in some of the smallest shitbox cars and stayed at some of the crappiest hotels in the name of, because he's one of the few guys that's as tight as I am in the vein of saving money. Yeah. But, he started doing that, and he's been real successful at it.
Yeah, but that's good that it's not traditional, because he's not trying to be Bill Burr or Don Jamieson or Jim Florentine. He's doing his thing. And, I love comics who break out of the standard routine. Like, I'll turn you on to a guy if you don't know. Do you know Doug Stanhope?
Man, I've heard that name, and I don't know why.
He's like the anti-comic, but he's amazing. Like, he breaks every rule of being a comic, and he's so good. He's like a ranter, but he's such an edgy guy, and he lives this real weird kind of. He lives like Bisbee, Arizona, and like an arts community, and he demonly thinks way outside the box. So I love that. I love when people break the rules of stuff, man.
But is it funny stuff?
Insanely funny. But really hardcore. Like he rents out like rock clubs and he goes and plays in front of his crowd because sometimes, regular crowds can't handle his stuff, Like he helped his mom commit suicide and all this stuff, and he talks about that on stage, man. It's heavy stuff. Yeah, it's brutal. Yeah, it's really good. And he drinks on stage. Like he drinks and he'll drink a whole fifth of vodka while he's on stage, but he keeps, he's smart, man. Right. He keeps it all together.
What do you think about, the comedy that, you're metal-based and all the stuff that you talk about and life-based, but when you think about some of the comedians that are a little bit more country flavored, like your Ron Whites, your, God dang.
Larry the Cable Guy, Foxworthy.
Yeah, those guys.
Well, I mean, look, Foxworthy wrote a book called "You Might Be a Redneck If." It's made him tens of millions of dollars over the years. I stole the idea and wrote a book called "You Might Be a Metalhead If," and I'm wearing a T-shirt from Target. So, I think if you think they're just rednecks and they're not smart, well, take a look at their bank accounts. You know, Larry, it's about finding your audience, man. Larry the Cable Guy said, "I know my audience. They're at Walmart." Perfect. And he catered to him, man. And the guy goes out and sells out big places, arenas and stuff.
Yeah, but man, what was your evolution process? Because, if I'm correct, I met Larry the Cable Guy at a couple of functions, and we were sitting at the same table together, man. I was having a couple of drinks. I think he was sipping on something. And Jesus Christ, I mean, they introduced somebody famous up to the stage, and, he goes, who was it? Or, he's just this whole routine. And I'm laughing my ass off. But, I think when he first started, dude, isn't he from like Nebraska or something like that? But he has a straight up accent. I mean, a regular accent.
Yeah.
But then when he turned into the Cable Guy, that's when he clicked.
He's a comic named Dan Whitney.
Right.
Who was just going out and playing clubs as Dan Whitney, and he was funny, but he didn't stand out. But in the meantime, he called into local morning shows, like in different markets, as this character, Larry the Cable Guy. Well, that guy caught on. Dan Whitney never caught on.
Right.
So he's like, why am I wasting my time being Dan Whitney? I'll just be the guy that I do on the radio. And that's how he got started, you know.
Well, that was like my first 7 or 8 years in the business. I was stunning Steve Austin, and bam, I come up with a Stone Cold thing. And after being, you know, a proficient mechanic inside the ring, I had great, you know, good psychology, you know, could have a match. But it didn't really mean as much because I didn't have the, you know, the right gimmick or the right character, you know, like Larry the Cable Guy.
Yep.
Did you go through any kind of evolution like that to finally get to where you're at right now?
Yeah, I think, you know,
floundering around, inventing or trying, you know, experimenting.
It was combining comedy with heavy music. That was a connection with doing that metal show and gaining a big audience from that. Because a lot of people didn't know me and Jim were stand-up comics. They just knew us from that metal show, so they all started coming to see us perform. So now it's, you know, now in comedy clubs it's funny, man, because you'll have, and I can work to any audience. I could do a nursing home, I could do a children's party, and I could do a nightclub, I could do a college. But, you know, there is definitely a part of the audience where, you know, you'll see, you know, the guy and his wife, you know, he's got his khakis on and his blue button up and his phone holster, and, you know, she'll be in a cocktail dress and they're out just on a Friday or Saturday night, want to get some laughs. And then at the table next to him will be like 6 guys in Slayer shirts and long greasy hair and camo shorts. And that's my other part of the crowd, you know. So, you know, I unite everybody, you know, and we were one big happy family. So I'm grateful to have that mix of the audience now being a part of my world. So I think that makes the big difference.
When Jim came by, I got his book right over there. Man, I can't read worth a damn, but I read the book, and we had a great conversation. And I can't remember if the story's in there. How did you guys cross paths, and where did you meet? Because y'all both Jersey.
Yeah, well, we were both, you know, we're both running around. He was doing stand-up before me. We both had long hair, so when we finally met, we're like, oh, okay, cool. You know, there's another long-haired dude. He's into metal and stuff and comedy. And we just started going out on gigs together, man. And we would have so much fun. And, you know, we weren't making any money. You know, we were just barely scraping by. And we used to because we would drive like 5 hours to make $75, man. Yeah. And you wouldn't get the hotel room, and like sometimes you didn't even get paid, and it was just, you know. But those are the gigs you had to do, and so we would when telemarketers would call the house, we would mess with them just to have funny stories to tell each other on the road, just to kill time in the car. And then, you know, after about a year, the light finally goes on. I'm like, we should start recording these and put out an album. So that's what we started doing. And so we have this series of 6 CDs called Terrorizing Telemarketers, which Howard Stern caught on to, and he started playing the stuff, and we started guesting on there. And that's how everything took off with me and him, because it was like, we're a couple comics from Jersey, man. Like, no one's looking for us. So let's just do our own thing. And then, you know, if someone likes it, then cool. So, you know, we have those hidden camera DVDs called Meet the Creeps, where we mess with people with a hidden camera. And then that same thing, man, we just put those out on our own. And then the next thing you know, we're getting deals from people and stuff like that. And guess what? Nobody's dictating the content. No one's telling us what we can and can't say. You know, our stand-up CDs we do on a heavy metal label called Metal Blade. Yeah. So great. They got bands like Cannibal Corpse and 6 Feet Under. They're not going to censor our comedy. You know what I mean? They're putting the most extreme music out. So, you know, whatever you want to do comedy-wise, do it. So it's great, man. We've just been able to do things our own way, and if people like it, great. If we're too edgy for you, you got to go listen to Dave Coulier. What can I tell you?
What are you guys doing if you're, let's say you and Jim were driving down the road, or you're talking telemarketing calls? Did y'all sit there and plan any of that? Was it all ad lib? Because, I mean, y'all went to some pretty lengthy exchanges, and I obviously have a good give and take because you know each other so well. No. Was there any planning behind that other than first just the experimentation process and doing it as a rib?
Well, I mean, it was first it was like we got nothing going on in the daytime anyway, so... But then it does become like a band recording an album, because I'll get up early, go to his house, and I spend the whole day at his house, and we just record calls all day. Most of them are just improv. Like, we just wait till one of us will hear something, and then I'll look at him and go, you know, I'll take the lead on this one, and he'll know, okay, I'll trust him, you know, and let him go. And then sometimes you just come up with a premise, and then you live it from there. Like, we have a call on one of the CDs where I go, let's pretend I'm giving you an enema during the call. And that's how we did it. And then we improv the whole thing. And then I had, I was dictating all the things that were coming out. I'm like, is that the hat from Monopoly? And, all this stuff. And the telemarketer's like freaking out, can I call it a better time? No, I just want to get this over with now. And I'm like trying to put the hose in, and it's all theater of the mind stuff. I'm like, do you have a shoehorn? I can't get it in. And, and the telemarketers stay on because if you don't curse at them or threaten them, they just stay on. They got to make that sale. They got that script there. And so it's like, all right, I'm going to try to sell this guy. He's giving him an enema, but all right.
But these days, if you're on the road, like a lot of times, man, there's LA is 310. Prefix or whatever the numbers are. There's a couple others, but one of them's 310, and then if it's like a 623 number, you can almost guarantee that it's a gimmick call, as I would say. And so, man, I just won't answer those calls, and then I'll block the number. So, like, if you're just hanging out, will you just take any phone call you see just for an experiment to see if you can get someone on the hook?
Yeah, because most people are on the do not call list. Because you can sign up for that. So we're like on the please call list. There's nobody left to call. We're the last ones left that aren't on the list. So yeah, we would get mad at our friends when they called, be like, dude, we're recording an album. Don't call back. We'll be done next week, because we're just waiting for the telemarketers to call. And they're all real calls, We never set any of them up, so.
Will you try to ride down the road, or you're traveling by yourself? Like, here's what we would do, man. We would be on the road, and like when you're in the wrestling business, just like you guys' business, when we first start, man, you ain't making no money. You can drive all the miles you want. You can get it $15, $20. You're talking about $75, whatever it is. Times are hard. You end up with about a minivan with 5 or 6 guys in that damn thing, or you're just traveling in bunches, and a lot of guys are sleeping on the floor. So finally you start getting a little bit established. So it's 2 or 3 guys in the car, and you're buddies. So now the matches happen. You're riding down the road to the next town. This is back in the day. You had some beers going, and you head to the next town. So you break down all the matches that happened that evening. Yep. Talking about who did what, talking about working a leg or an arm, and then you start booking the territory, all the storylines about what the office should be doing, because Monday Night Raw is going to happen in 4 days, and you're heading there. So you're booking the territory, and then you're putting yourself over in the process. If you're riding down the road with anybody, or if you're talking with Jim, your buddy, will you ever try to write material together? Or because it's not like we're trying to go over a match and someone's going to steal elements of my match. How protective? I guess my question is, how protective of you are the material that you may be discussing with Jim or anybody else, and so that they don't jack your material. And all of a sudden you're listening like, hey man, I brought up that concept, and now he's got it on his show. You know what I mean?
Well, like with Jim, obviously he's one of my best friends in the world, and he's the one that wrote me into doing stand-up. So I trust him with anything. Yeah. But we don't really talk about our own stand-up acts. The only time we'll kind of talk about is like if we're recording a new stand-up CD. I'll do like a week at my home club and really just hone the stuff. And I'll say, hey, could you come down one of the nights and just take some notes and give me some extra punchlines or whatever. And then I'll do the same thing for him. But other than that, we don't talk about it. But we do so many other projects together that's usually what we talk about. If we're going to do a new telemarketer CD, we'll talk about that. Hey, when do we want to record this? And like, let's come up with, I'll say, hey, I come up with a bunch of ideas. Or if we do those hidden camera DVDs, we talk about that. We used to do sketches on Inside the NFL. The sports show on HBO,
about that, because y'all got an Emmy for that.
Yeah.
But what exactly were you doing? Because I used to always watch Inside the NFL, and I'm a huge football junkie.
Me too.
So what specifically? What was that material?
Well, they used to every year they would have comics do like sports themed sketches, or like Lewis Black did rants every week and stuff. So they had seen our hidden camera DVDs, and they were like, oh man, that'd be great to have these guys do stuff for us. But our stuff's pretty hardcore. Like, hidden camera shows are all the same. And like, the Impractical Jokers, those guys are amazing and whatever, and they're super popular. But, the thing with our hidden camera stuff is there's no happy ending. Everything just fades to black.
Yeah.
In misery. So it's once we started trying to do sports stuff in that vein, like the people at HBO are like, all right, no, we gotta start like scripting these things out, and we got to be able to approve these scripts, because we went out like to a parking lot with a Giant Stadium and wearing different teams' jerseys, like Eagles jerseys and Cowboys jerseys and stuff like that, and really tried to get people riled up, man. And it got ugly, but So they're like, no, we're going to have to script these out after that, which was good, though, because then we wrote some funny sketches, and then that's how we ended up winning a sports Emmy.
Yeah, you were saying earlier before we were rolling the sound, like you're a big sports guy. And so, like, in football, I'm a big football head. And like tonight, I think it's the national championship game, I guess, between Michigan and Villanova.
No.
So I'll watch that. Baseball season's too long. I'll wait till they get into the playoffs. I'll watch the World Series. Now, as far as football goes, hockey I don't dig. I grew up in South Texas. Wasn't no ice back in the Stone Ages, so I'm not big on the hockey deal. But football, man, preseason, but as soon as the regular season starts, I'm in. So obviously you're a big football guy, right?
Yeah.
Do you live and die by a specific team?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Jets fan, man.
God,
so it's miserable.
dang it, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw this microphone.
Throw it at my dad because he's the one that saddled me with all these sad sack teams that I like.
No, but I'm okay with different aspects of the Jets. It just seems like, man, I don't know. I thought, what was it, Rex Ryan? What do you think?
Yeah, Rex Ryan. Well, yeah.
Probably held on to him a little too long.
Yeah, and
gave him a shot.
season
Great
too
defense
long.
coordinator.
Yeah.
Obviously, his dad and his brother. I mean, great. I'm not running them down. Great football lineage and a lot of success. But just as a head coach, sometimes it doesn't work. But right now, they're doing some interesting things over there.
Yeah.
And so for me, like, who are you cheering for? If you're Jets fans and you got New England and Philly in the playoffs, I mean, are you just sitting there like, okay, the Jets ain't in. This sucks.
Yeah.
Who are you cheering for?
Well, I'm used to that. So, I assume my season's going to be over before Halloween, so I don't even think about the postseason. But it's weird because the Jets, when I was growing up, you hated the Dolphins. That was the rivalry. And now in the last 15 years, it's become the Patriots. Now the Patriots are the hated team. So yeah, I would root for anybody over the Patriots. They're the hated team. And Dolphins, Jim's a Dolphin fan, and that's, he's Dan Marino's his hero. And Dan worked on Inside the NFL with us. And I wanted to hate Dan Marino so bad, the fake spike and all that against the Jets. It made us look like fools. And then you meet the guy, and within 30 seconds, he's the coolest guy ever. And it's like, he's such a great dude, and he's got a great edgy sense of humor. And he let us come to his house and shoot a sketch for the show and everything, man. Just a real cool, down-to-earth dude, man.
Dude, he was kind of ahead of his time, too, because he was throwing for 5,000 yards back when dudes didn't throw for 5,000 yards. You had Mark Clayton, Mark Duper back in the day. And, man, they were just lighting people up. But going to the Super Bowl, New England versus Philly. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people don't like Belichick. They think he's a grouch or whatever. Let's do his interviews. Man, that's his game. I really like the guy because, to me, he puts everything. I think he loves football, and he does his damnedest to put his team in the right position to win. And Brady, God dang it, you get drafted, $1.99, and then you turn in, Bledsoe goes down, he gets, opportunity, and then all of a sudden all these Super Bowl wins later, and it's a body of hard work, and he's not a premier athlete. He's probably the greatest quarterback to arguably ever play the game. But going into that, it'd be like, on one hand, it'd be neat to see Belichick and Brady get another Super Bowl trophy. But on the other hand, it's like, I saw Doug Peterson come out of nowhere, high school coach for a couple of years. They had a little bit of a coaching tree. And then all of a sudden, they got Carson Wentz. Wentz goes down, trying to make that touchdown, blows out his ACL. Got Nick Foles. He comes out, plays a little shaky that first game, then gets on a roll. And those two guys are such good friends and have the same, beliefs and everything like that, that Carson Wentz was totally supportive of all that, and that defense was spun up. And Peterson going for it on about, 3 or 4 times when they had fourth down, and that was it, and he's still going for it.
Well, he saw what he saw the Falcons playing a conservative the year before and blowing the game. So he's like, if I go down, I'm going down swinging.
Yeah, but, man, I appreciate that. So, anyway, in that game, man, I was all Philly. I want to see Philly win because LA hadn't won one since, what was it, since the 80s, mid-80s?
I don't think that was their first Super Bowl.
First Super Bowl. But anyway,
they had Donovan McNabb where they were in the Super Bowl, but they lost.
Right.
Yeah, but they never won a Super Bowl.
And I dug Philly back in the day when Jaworski was there, Randall Cunningham was there, all those guys. And but this year, with all the stuff that they had going on, I was cheering for the Eagles to win it all. And well, I'll tell you what, during that last drive, if any time you give Brady the ball and whatever time's on the clock, and then, all they needed was a touchdown to win it. Or what was the score? Yeah, it wasn't. They didn't need a field goal. They needed a touchdown.
Yeah.
But, dude, when you get Brady out there.
And you have 10 seconds, you don't turn the TV off. Because he's going to pull it off. He will pull this off somehow. I don't know how, but he's going to connect with Gronk for a 65-yard pass play down. Then he's going to run all the way down the end zone. And it's going to be over.
Dude, they start hitting those those mid-range passes. They're throughout the middle of the game, and it's like there was nobody around those receivers, and it was like, I don't know what's up. Did you hear that? It was on YouTube. It's one guy's breaking down. It was a conspiracy type thing where someone said that Bill Belichick was trying to throw the game.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah, but
what did you think about that?
No, come on. Look, Belichick, like you said, man, for whatever you think about him, he's the ultimate heel. Like, he plays that character perfectly, man. But, he's a super genius, man. There's no way that guy cares about winning that much for that many years, and all of a sudden he's just going to throw a Super Bowl, man. It's just not
but
happen.
What was the deal with,
They said, he's going to go to the Giants. And
no, he ain't going nowhere. No. I don't think. But what were your thoughts when they traded away Jacoby Brissett and then the big one, Jimmy Garoppolo?
No.
And Tom's going to be 41.
Right. Well, obviously he's seeing something in him that, Tom can go probably another 3 or 4 years. And in the meantime, then they'll have plenty of time to find somebody else. But you know who's responsible for Tom Brady, right?
Right.
Mo Lewis from the Jets. He's the one that knocked Drew Bledsoe out of that game, ended his career, and that's when Tom Brady stepped in. So not only is my team miserable to watch every year, they created the dynasty that is the New England Patriots.
Now, are you such a football fan that you'll watch the combine and then just stay glued to TV for the draft?
No, I don't really. No, I don't watch the draft. I don't like college sports, really. I just like pro stuff. But yeah, every Sunday, like I live in this little beach town in New Jersey. I go down to the local sports bar, get down there for the first game, and I just, I usually hang out there for the afternoon games. I go home and watch, the 8:30 game or whatever on the East Coast. And you're out here. Which is complete BS. I can't stand being out here during football season. I'm not waking up at 10 a.m., to watch football, all right? I'm a comic. I sleep. I don't like being up that early. There better be a pair of lips around my penis if I'm up that early. If you can say that on your show, I apologize.
Yes, we can.
But yeah, so I would watch, if they put a midnight game on, I'd watch it too, man. That's how much I'm into it. But now that's on Monday and it's on Thursday. It's like, now it's almost too much football.
What do you think about, these days? I mean, man, I've been watching football my whole life. I played football, and god dang, it's been a violent sport from the get-go, right? But, back in the day, many years ago, they could fold up their helmet, put it in their back pocket. And now we've come into this new age where the equipment is so good, you're seeing all these vicious hits or trying to avoid, helmet-to-helmet contact. But, when you got your head inside this bucket and then it hits that turf, I mean, it's still slamming against the side of your skull. So these days, it seems to me, and especially because, you're only 3 years younger than me, for a big part of football. I mean, if you go back to the Staubach days, the Terry Bradshaw days, just days like that, it was more run-oriented, and it seemed like the game was played a little bit closer together. To me, it just seems like with all the spread offenses, guys are playing with so much speed. Everybody's bigger, faster, stronger to begin with, and just these incredible athletes. And, dude, it's amazing to me how, are you a hockey fan?
Yeah.
You remember back in the day when hockey players were kind of like small? There might have been one goon on the team, but now, dude, you go see an NHL team. Those dudes are, first of all, they all love to fight. They're all badass. They're some big-ass dudes. Mm-hmm. How did they grow up so much? But anyway, in football, what are your thoughts of, man, every time you see a damn football game, somebody's getting smoked. They'll get shark-eyed. They'll go into tremors. And now with the CTE stuff, the lawsuits, been a couple of suicides. What's your thoughts?
Oh man, obviously I hate all the, I hate hearing all that stuff about people. But when you go into it, that there's that chance. I mean, it's like putting the warning on the side of the pack of cigarettes. I mean, come on, you know that this is going to kill you. So you don't really need the warning. And football's the same way, man. It's a roll of the dice sometimes, man. Sometimes you're a Terry Bradshaw, man, and you get through it, and you go on TV and have a broadcasting career, and you still got your wits about you. And man, then there's the dark stuff, man, like Junior Seau and all that, man. And it's just, it's tough. I'm glad there's stuff in place that's for safety, but I got to admit, man, I miss the days when the receiver would go out and cut across the middle, man, and go right into the mix, and just get plowed by, just get crunched between the two safeties. I miss those days. I do, but I get it, man. It's like now with all the CTE stuff, it's a tough thing, man.
But also, it just seemed like the style of tackling even changed because, from the form tackle, face mask up, and just wrapping up and driving to the ground. These days, or many years back, but it just kind of evolved into it. Guys just started running towards another dude and just dropping that shoulder and just wham, and it just all kind of gravitated to what it is now. The thing about it is, going back to the CTE thing, and I'm not an NFL expert and I'm not a lawyer, but when everybody jumps on board to try to me, it's almost like a lot of guys, because you can play in the league for a long time, and what's the average career last? 3 years? And
barely.
So if you ain't, a lot of guys still want to get paid because they already ran through the money, and it wasn't big money to begin with back in those days. And so it's like a lot of people want to get paid, but it's kind of like, I think there's another class action lawsuit going on in wrestling. People saying same thing, CTEs. It's like, man, it's like Dr. Death Steve Williams said a long time ago, who was this famous, many-time All-American from Oklahoma University. He goes, man, this ain't ballet. And so it's like, dude, to me, it's like you said, when you buy a pack of cigarettes or if you're in something that's going to take its toll on you, it is what it is. So I just don't believe in the big-ass lawsuits, myself, just in regards to that, because like you said, I think you know what you're signing up for. But back in the day, when you got knocked out or whatever, they did just put your ass back in.
Oh, yeah.
So the concussion protocol and all that stuff is outstanding, but it's still a violent-ass game, and to me, you got to know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, I know it's true, man. But football, hockey, that's real physical. It's the baseball players, man. It's making me insane. They chip a toenail now. They're out for 2 weeks. It's like, come on, man. It's baseball. You're throwing a ball and hitting it with a piece of wood. Like, you should no baseball player should ever be out unless you get hit with a line drive in the head. You should never ever be out of the lineup. Don't you think?
Man, I don't know. Here's the thing: 162 games through the season, the travel, getting in shape preseason.
No one's jumping off top ropes.
No, but I'm just saying, dude,
and dropping elbows on them. Come on.
But those dudes, I mean, they were taking amphetamines and stuff to keep them.
No one's hitting them with a chair.
Yeah, but they're taking stuff to keep them focused. They're getting so dragged out. They need something.
I get it.
Dude, I'm for a little something if it's going to make you play a little bit better.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, of course, they called them the greenies, man. Just take a few greenies, man, because guys would go out and party till 5 a.m, and they'd have to pitch the next afternoon on a day game on a Saturday, 100 degrees in Texas, and they're sweating the booze out of them. They need a little pick-me-up, so they used to be able to do that. Now, God forbid, like every cell of your body isn't like in perfect condition, then everyone gets mad at you.
So you're a hockey fan, right?
Love hockey. Yeah.
Explain. I was reading a book just a couple of years ago. I think it was about a guy from Detroit. He's one of the greatest enforcers of all time. Can't remember.
Bob Probert, yeah.
That was him.
Yep.
What's his name? Bob Probert?
Probert.
Yeah. I read the book. Explain something to me, man. Because I don't watch a whole lot of hockey, but when I do turn on hockey, if I'm changing channels on ESPN, man, all of a sudden you hear the gloves come off and it's a throwdown. And I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, these guys fight so much. Whatever happened to the rules? So what is it about the enforcer? What is it about the dude that, you're never going to get a shot on Wayne Gretzky back in the day.
Never.
That would like a death sentence.
Uh-huh.
And like the past stars, what dude named Crosby and the other guy, Ovechkin or whatever.
Yeah.
What's the story with the guys that are just the guys?
Nobody fights anymore, man. Come on. You barely ever see fights. Seriously, you watch a whole season of hockey, man. Maybe a fight a game, tops, and it'll last 10 seconds. It's not like the old days, man, where the goon went out there and he would just follow the guys after and the gloves go down and they would really beat the crap out of each other. Now it's just sort of like, there's not as much fighting, which I actually like. I thought I would miss it, but I like that Izzy likes the violence. But
you like the violence?
Yeah. I'm a Minnesota boy. We're South Canada. Hockey's in the blood. And
man, I don't know. I was just like,
it's more of a skill game now, which I like, man. I think it should be more of a skill game, but I do like to see him throw down.
Yeah, but man, a couple of years ago, that dude was skating down the ice, and the dude whacked him in the back with the hockey stick. Yeah. I thought that was pretty damn cheap.
Yeah,
that messed that guy bad.
Yeah,
I think is he even playing anymore?
Who I can't. Yeah.
How long
someone,
man, 5 or 8 years ago.
I forget.
I can't.
Yeah. You still get stuff like that once in a while. But here's the thing. I mean, the thing I always respect about hockey players, dude, is like when you sign up to be a hockey player, you're just basically saying, I don't care about having teeth.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? It's just like they're all going to be knocked out eventually.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get hit in the face with pucks. You're going to get hit in the face with sticks. And it's just like, that's what I always respected about them. Like, you know, they're not pretty boys. You know, they do get out there. It's a physical game. It's fast. And you're going to get your teeth knocked out. And yeah, sign me up for that. I love it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like I said, and I think I've been ice skating 3 times, but those guys, every one of them are badasses and extremely tough. With that road schedule and the game itself and everything that goes with it. Are you an MMA fan at all?
No, I'm a wrestling fan, but I'm not really into the...
When did you start watching wrestling?
Man, when I was a kid, man. I
grew up in
with
Jersey.
Bob Backlund and all that.
Yeah.
I go back to those days. Yeah, man. Yeah. And then all the way through Junkyard Dog and Sergeant Slaughter and Iron Sheik and Hogan and...
Dude, that was back when everybody had a gimmick, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's like, it was like the whole dressing room was a star. I mean, every one of the guys had some type of character that was super developed and super over. And, it's not so much like that anymore. Yeah. Did you ever go to any live events?
I went once in Jersey, to one of the wrestling events there. I actually opened for Roddy Piper once because he was doing his stand-up comedy storytelling thing too, man, which was really
Where was that
fun
at?
and interesting. That was at a convention in Atlanta. And, he was really nice, man. May he rest in peace now. But that was really cool. And I'm trying to work out to go on tour with Jake the Snake because he's out doing a stand-up storytelling thing, too.
God dang, man. And Jake, have you ever met him?
Never met him, no.
Man,
but it was a huge fan.
Guy.
He's gone through some hard times.
Yeah, man. He has gone through some hard times. And one of the things I liked about Jake, I remember I was down in South Texas. I was riding around on my ranch, and Dallas called me. I think they'd done the thing together, DDP yoga, and Jake is starting to get pretty clean. And I was talking to him because Jake had an amazing run, but if you remember his matches, I mean, he was very efficient in the ring. He didn't do a bunch of stuff, but what he did mattered. And then I was like, man, what a run! And then on his promos, he always talked, pretty damn quiet. And you had to really shut up to listen to Jake because, I mean, you were going to drop your volume because you wanted to hear what he had to say. He always had that style. And so the run he had, I said, God dang, Jake. I said, man, you were so damn good. And he really helped me out to come up with the Austin 316 thing one time when I was working with him in a pay-per-view. And he told me, he goes, you know what, Steve, what scares me? And I said, what? He goes, what I could have done if I was straight. Because he was always kind of, impaired or, fighting with some demons. So had he had some laser focus and really been more goal-oriented, it would have been interesting to see what he could have done or taken to the business, too, just from a, popularity standpoint.
Yeah, no, it's true, man. But, look, that's what was happening at the time. And, again, it maybe applies more to comics. But the comics with the demons, man, those are the best ones, man. That's why I always say I don't need to be on anybody's top 10 comic list or top 100 comic list. I'm sitting with you for an hour, man. We're just chatting, man. I like this. There's comics who can't do this. They only feel at home in one place. That's on stage. I love being on stage, but I like having a regular life too, man. I don't want to be in that dark place all the time. But you know what? When those guys get on stage, that's magic. The Pryors of the world, those kind of guys, amazing. But they were tortured.
Wait, but that was kind of like, I don't know if you remember a guy named Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah.
And Eddie comes from one of the most famous wrestling families that there ever was. Sure. It's like Eddie, man, he was like, man, I didn't know him really well. Obviously, I know him, and we were friends. And I remember going to his funeral. But it's like, man, he was always on edge or a little bit down. He's just wearing the weight of the world on his shoulders. It's like, as soon as the bell rang, I mean, Jesus Christ, that's when Eddie Guerrero came to life. Then the match was over, whether he won or lost. He ripped, 18,000 people apart, showered, and kind of back down in that spot. Yeah. And it's weird.
Yeah. I see comics do it, man. They'll leave the show and they'll go right to their hotel room and just they're by themselves. And, and I'm like, I like to hang out afterwards and talk to people in the crowd and have a few drinks and, but I see that with comics. I'm like, yeah, that's just them, man. They're not social people. A lot of them, the funniest ones aren't. and people get excited if you can, because if they're selling merch after the show and they want to meet them, and then it's just like, there's no conversation because they're like, all right,
they're not on.
Yeah, I'm off stage now, and then they just, they just do their own thing, man. I like to be out in the mix with people, man.
Hey, you're in L.A. right now. You're going back to Jersey tomorrow, correct?
Yeah.
So how long have you been out here? 3 days?
I came out Wednesday. I was in Vegas, Scottsdale, and then L.A. a couple nights ago.
So you was working.
So I stayed to do this with you.
Yeah.
And I got a spot down in Redondo Beach or Manhattan Beach tonight. I'm going to do, and then I'm going to go home and like we said earlier, man. Just put the suitcase down, unpack about half of it, and then just clean that stuff and put it right back in and go out again.
How you dig the West Coast, L.A. specifically?
I love it out here. I mean, obviously it's a hub for show business, but I'm way more of an East Coast attitude and personality. But this is a place you have to be at some point. I always try to keep an honest profile out here. I'm not out here a lot, but I make sure I'm out here at least a few times a year, just so people, they know that I'm out here and that I'm a comic and I work out here. So, but to live out here, I don't know. It's nice weather, but I don't know. I'm definitely an East Coast dude.
Well, what do you think about the traffic here versus there? Because they both suck.
It's miserable. Yeah. I mean, no, well, where I live in Jersey, it's just a little beach town, but yeah, out here, it's misery. Like Izzy said, I'll come pick you up, and I looked, it was like 34 minutes from my hotel to get here. We were doing this at 1. He goes, I'll pick you up at 11:30. I'm like, this is exactly why I don't live out here. Because you got to build in 19 hours of your day into driving, 3 miles.
Yeah. What is you before you leave the booking process? Like, what do you tell your booker or the person your manager? Hey, I want to work X amount of days this year, or hey, let's do whatever. Or how in control of that are you, and how much do you want to work or not want to work?
I rarely turn a gig down, bro. I do. You have a backyard and cash, I'll come perform at a picnic. I don't care, just let me know. Just if I'm open, I'll come do it, man. I don't discriminate, man. Like I said, I go out and play the comedy clubs. I go out and open for bands. I like to do different types of stuff. I hate to not work, man. I mean, I am that way, man. I do start jonesing after a while, man. If I'm off stage, I'm like, I gotta get up somewhere, man. I gotta find an open mic somewhere or anything, just to get on stage. But especially now that the TV show isn't on anymore, those nice TV checks ain't coming in anymore. So it's hard to turn work down.
God dang, can it come back? Well, we talked about it earlier.
It's like your favorite metal bands. They go away and you're like, man, they should come back. And then eventually, man, they always do, right? So, we're going to hold out hope and we'll see. And when those 30-year-old hipsters get a little older and they kind of understand, oh, yeah, you know what? Metal and hard rock is big all around the world, then maybe we'll have a shot, man.
So I know what Jim's doing because he was by here a couple of months back, but what's Eddie Trunk up to these days?
He does his radio gig, man. That's always been his background. He's got a couple shows on Sirius XM. He's got a syndicated show on, regular terrestrial radio. So we can all make, Jim and I go out and tour, do stand-up. So we can all make a living, but we're still best friends. And we still want to do the show, but we'll see what happens, man.
If I was to jump in your car, give me 5 CDs. I know you got friends that are in all these bands, but give me 5 CDs that just you would recommend to any metalhead.
Oh, okay. Well, you'd have to Motorhead, Ace of Spades. You'd have to have what AC/DC? Well, you have to have one from Brian, one from Bon, right? So you'd have to have either probably Back in Black, and then from the Bon days, probably Highway to Hell. You would definitely want Judas Priest in the mix, maybe a British Steel. You got to have that in there. Did I say Motorhead? You have to have a Motorhead in there. Who else would you have to have in there? A Sabbath, of course. I love the album Sabotage. That's like my favorite Sabbath album. So, yeah, that's probably the 4 or 5 essential ones.
Got to throw an Iron Maiden one in there.
Yeah, I throw a Maiden one in there, of course. I like the first 2 the best, actually, before Bruce Dickinson.
All right, here's a question. Yeah, but you know what? Really, Maiden didn't light me up until Dickinson took over.
Well, that's when they got huge. Yeah. They would have never got huge with Paul Di'Anno singing.
What did you think if Bon Scott hadn't died? And what if the next album that they did with Brian Johnson, what do you think if Bon Scott would have sang that album had he never died, but he sang on that album?
Well, there's
never missed a beat, or did Brian was Brian the next rocket pack that was able to take him to the next level?
I don't even think they knew that what was going to happen. Like, to go from a band that was really on the rise and then change singers, to this new person that nobody had ever heard of. He was just kicking around in the pubs, as a singer, and you've put him in the mix. He's got his cabbie hat and his black T-shirt on and the jeans. And, Bon was more of the rock star, and Brian's more of the everyday guy, the blue-collar guy. And it was just it was a perfect fit. But, and there's controversy about, like, did they write those songs with Bon or did they not? Did they record some with him? Because you could tell in some of those lyrics, that's like Bon's term of phrase, because he always had a certain way of phrasing his lyrics. And I always go, God, that's got to have been Bon, man. Because, I don't think Brian wrote stuff like that. Like, Bon always had a clever way of presenting his stuff.
Hey, the last AC/DC question, I'll let you ride off into the sunset, but before you do, you said Cannibal Corpse a little bit earlier in our conversation. Wasn't some of the guys, or at least the lead singer from Cannibal Corpse, in 6 Feet Under?
Yeah, Chris Barnes. Yeah.
Okay, so Chris Barnes, and so he's the lead singer of 6 Feet Under. And man, I've been looking at this because I had this CD back in the day. I still have it in Texas. I just can't find it. And on iTunes, I can't find it. But it was when it was the Graveyard from
Graveyard Classics.
Graveyard Classics 2. And that was when they did all of the songs from the Back in Black album.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. I love that album.
Yeah.
Dude.
Oh, it's unbelievable to hear that heavy death growl doing those AC/DC classics. It's amazing.
I'm on iTunes and I'm looking for it. I'm like, dude, what the F? Because I have this physical CD. It's in my truck somewhere, but I can't find it.
Oh.
And so on iTunes, you can't download it. But, dude, that thing is phenomenal.
Wow.
And I love AC/DC's version of it. Obviously,
Of
I'm
course.
a huge AC/DC fan. But, dude, that thing kills.
It just shows you, man, that the power of those songs, because it's like you could do them in any style and they're going to kill. You know what I mean? Like, those songs are so good.
Oh, yeah.
You could do it you could do a country style. You could do a death metal style. You could do it any style and it'll still be awesome.
What does Henry Rollins do with his stuff these days? The spoken word stuff.
Yeah, he's still doing that, man.
And what is that all about? And I'd love to talk to him. I know he's a real intense, intelligent guy. But what? How is he?
I saw it like maybe 20 years ago, and he just kind of, it's a lot of comments on society and stuff. I mean, obviously he talks about music and arts and stuff like that, but yeah, it's just the world according to Henry, man. And he can go on for 2.5 hours, man.
Yeah.
And I love, like I said, as a comic, I love comics, but man, when a comic goes over an hour, I'm like, that's enough, man. That's, leave me wanting more, but he does have the gift of gab, man, and it's a pretty captivating show.
Okay, before we sign off, you're on the road. Where can fans find you next? Where's your next gigs headed?
Yeah, I got some gigs coming up out in Ohio, actually, Cuyahoga Falls, where I recorded Communication Breakdown. That's April 26th through 28th, and I got a bunch of local gigs. They're on my website, donjamieson.com, so just pop on there. I'm on Twitter and Facebook. If you're interested, come find me.
God dang, man, I did a low-budget piece. I'll go ahead. It was a low-budget piece of shit movie, and it was some small town in Ohio. It was 16 degrees below zero, and that was the coldest weather I'd ever been exposed to, where I actually had to be in it, and I was freezing my ass off. I couldn't. There was a part where I had some dialogue, and it was so cold, and I was doing a movie with Michael J.
What was the movie?
I can't remember the name of it. It was just bad, real bad. I ain't gonna tell you.
It's called 16 Degrees Below Zero.
God dang. 2 days of work, I froze my ass off. And I swore I would never, ever go to that town again, or at least never go to Ohio when it's freezing ass cold. I ain't good in the cold weather. Don Jamieson.
Yeah. Write some material. Let's go out on the road together, man. You're a born performer. You know that.
I go out there and open for you and just kill the damn town. Just dead or shit. You'd have to go out there with some damn CPR and some heart jumpers.
No, go out and meet Kiefer Sutherland on a bar and write some material.
Man, I got no desire. I would like to go out and say thanks to some people, tell a couple of wrestling stories. I don't think I ever will, but
we'll work on it.
I'm not going to try to be a stand-up guy for damn sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave that to you guys that are experts.
All right, I'll leave the wrestling to you guys, man.
All right, I'm signing off. Don Jamieson, he's out on the road. Izzy's sitting over here. I was trying to get him on the damn podcast. He untangled all my cords.
We'll give him a plug for his real quick,
Go
right?
ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
The show's called Another Effin' Podcast. Find it on Spreaker and iTunes. And then I have my Ace Frehley tribute band called ACT, tribute to Ace Frehley. We're playing in Hollywood April 26th and up in Minnesota on May 18th and 19th.
So what do you play, Izzy?
I play guitar and sing.
Lead guitar?
Rhythm guitar.
And you sing?
I sing, yes.
Can you sing?
That's why I have an Ace Frehley tribute band. But
here's my Ace Frehley. I've told this story many times, but since you got time for one more story,
of course.
My first.
I'm all hyped up on your coffee, man.
All of my listeners, I've heard this story before. I'm gonna kill them. Who cares? So anyway, I was growing up in South Texas. My favorite band in the world was Kiss, and I always had a wrestling bug, but I wanted to be a musician first and foremost. So, Kiss being my favorite song, Ace used to sing the song Shock Me. Mm-hmm. So I'm in there in my room, and I share with my two brothers. And my brother Kevin is 10 months younger than me. He was an accident. He wasn't supposed to happen. So anyway, I'm in there singing, and I'm singing, Shock Me, make me feel better. And, of course, I sound like shit just like I just did. And out of nowhere, man, here comes a big old hand. It just bitch slaps my damn head, and the headphones go flying off. I jumped up because my brother and me fought every single day. Yeah. I said, gee, I said, what the hell did you do that for? Because he'd been listening to me for 30 minutes. He goes, dude, this is back when we had 8 tracks. And he goes, dude, you suck. He goes, take the headphones off and listen to yourself. And so sure enough, I took the headphones off. When you got the headphones on and Ace is singing, you sound just like Ace. I took the headphones off, and I sounded like shit, just like my brother said. So I was like, God dang, it kills my hopes of being a lead singer. So my dad played lead guitar in a country and western band. So I figured I'd play guitar. And so I didn't apply myself, and he was actually my stepdad, so I didn't inherit his genetical, music stuff. So I figured, okay, F it. I'll play bass. It's got 2 less strings. It's going to be easier. The only thing I could play was the opening notes from Kool and the Gang, Ladies' Night. Da-da. Remember how the song starts?
Or Running with the Devil. Boom, boom, boom.
Dude, Steve Harris, one of my favorite bass players of all time. Anyway, that's enough about the story because everybody else has heard it all. But anyway, so I couldn't be in a rock and roll band. You don't have any failed musician stories?
I did when I told you.
First of all, how did you come up with the name of that band? Sodomy.
Gunfire and Sodomy. Yeah. Oh, that's a whole other conversation. People are already tuned out. And I had an acoustic death metal. I'll come back. I'll bring the CD. We'll listen to it. It's a band because serial killers need a favorite band. But it's just crazy acoustic death metal band that I did. The CDs are on iTunes. It's very offensive though.
It's very offensive. Callie just came back to ruin the podcast. We're signing off.
She's been licking my privates for about an hour and 20 minutes at this point. So
that was my toe.
Oh.
You guys good? Anything else?
Even better.
New to Podcast One, Red Circle Sports with Dennis Miller.
The thing about LeBron is I think he's reached that point now where he realizes maybe the organization, although Gilbert seems like a bit of a shaky cat to me, but I think they realize that they cannot do the full-bore ice capades every night and show the colors. They have to eat it a little once in a while because, quite frankly, it doesn't matter till it gets in the playoffs, right? Until you get in the kill zone. That takes a month and a half.
To hear new episodes each Tuesday from Dennis Miller, subscribe exclusively on Apple Podcasts, PodcastOne.com, or on the new Podcast One app. Don't forget to review and leave a 5-star rating.
All right, everybody, give me the go-home cue. It's time to wrap up this podcast and ride off in the sunset. Before I do that, I want to thank my guest, Don Jamieson, stand-up comedian, for coming by the crib and shooting a breeze with me. Find Don's new comedy album on iTunes. That's the easiest place to download it, right there. Check it out. Super funny guy. Enjoyed talking to him. And next time he comes by, we're just going to sit here and talk about heavy metal music. And that's all I got to say about that. Hey, man, anybody that missed it the first time, I'm looking forward to going down to New Orleans, Louisiana, April 7th, April 8th. I will be at the WrestleCon convention signing autographs and taking pictures. I'm looking forward to seeing all the fans. I'm looking forward to seeing all the guys and girls. Tell you what, it's going to be like a big-ass reunion down there and some crazy-ass people in this business. I'm looking forward to seeing them. Hey, man, I'll give you guys a shout-out. I got a badass pocket knife from Cold Steel. I got the Broken Skull knife and the more cost-efficient working man's knife, and you can get them both at my new Amazon store. Amazon has the best price on both knives. Just go to Amazon.com/shop/Steve Austin. And I want to say thank you to all the fine sponsors of the Steve Austin Show. That's how I'm able to do this podcast for you twice a week for free. And you can find all my sponsors at PodcastOne.com. Just click on the Killer Deals button at the top of the page and then click on the Steve Austin Show banner. And folks, I am on social media. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Steve Austin BSR. And coming up soon, I will be doing a podcast with my illustrious wife where we talk about setting a trap. You guys knew that we were trying to catch a cat out here in front of the house and return that cat or find out who its rightful owner was. And we ended up capturing the cat. That story coming up real soon. Folks, until next time, I'm looking forward to getting the Thursday show to you. I'm looking forward to getting down to New Orleans, Louisiana for the WrestleCon appearance. And I'm looking forward to seeing WrestleMania 34. And that's all I got to say about that. Until next time, I'll catch your ass down the road.
This has been a Podcast One production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.